Could I have two cuts that you would make to spending today?
So, if you know how the budget's made up, entitlements, interest on the debt, and defense, we are spending too much in general. So you cannot make any dent on discretionary spending cuts only. The reason, Tony, that that's not a question you can answer is because you're not going to make a dent in the problem unless you do it across the board. I'm for taking the entire federal spending and baselining it and freezing it just like we do in the real world. We're not making selective cuts in my business when we went through the '08 crisis. We were doing it across the board. There is no way, unless you do it comprehensively, according to a plan like Rand Paul's, that you're going to make any progress. There's not enough room in the discretionary budget to make a dent, especially when you're spending $300 billion more with the kumbaya we had between Democrats and Republicans this last time around. And I'll stick with that. It has to be across the board.
Mr. Messer.
I thought I did answer, Tony, but I think how you do it is you block grant funding back to the state. So you could freeze dollars in the area of food stamps, SNAP dollars, and let states then have the flexibility to implement those programs more efficiently. I've offered amendments where we would block grant Title I dollars in the education space back and allow local government leaders, state and local leaders, to utilize those dollars to enhance school choice programs. If you're able to do that over time, that's a whole lot of how Todd and I both have voted for budgets that balance in 4 and 5 years. Very quickly, budgets start to balance if you do that.
Mr. Rokita.
I don't think I'm going to have to take my entire minute, but I may talk about some other things. I block grant and Medicaid. That'll be the cut, like Luke mentioned, and TANF, food stamps, and are two others that I mentioned earlier that I would cut. I support the president in doing so. Department of Education. I either co-sponsor or I write the bill to eliminate the Department of Education because it's nowhere found in the Constitution, along with several other agencies that I'd vote to curtail, if not eliminate altogether. So there's a third one. A fourth one, public broadcasting. You know, I listen to WIBC every once in a while, and it suits me just fine, and you and Emmis are in the private sector. We do not need to have taxpayer-funded liberal demagoguery and dogma going over our airways and over our cable. It's absolutely ridiculous. If the liberals want to fund their terrible ideas, they should pay for it themselves. I'm also very proud to know that I have operated a budget when I was your Secretary of State that was from 1987. Unadjusted for inflation. I served 20 years later. We were operating dollar for dollar on the same money the Secretary of State had in 1987. Which one of us do you trust to go against Joe Donnelly and return some sanity to the Senate?